from an integrator perspective, when we're choosing equipment, one of the things we do is go to those manufacturers' websites and see what they're already proven to play nice with. I don't think that this is brain surgery. I think this is basic product management. If you're selling microphones or nanos, you want your product to work with absolutely everybody else that's in the mainstream out there. And if you're a sniveling little aspirational upstart manufacturer, it better work with everybody. Because we're not even going to give you a listen. So
if you want to watch somebody cringe, just say the word proprietary.
Co-opetition in the video conferencing space. Walmart buys a TV company and giving end users a vision of everything. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 653, recorded Friday, February 23rd, 2024. Walmart buys VIZIO. This is AV Week, the weekly wrap-up of the biggest stories in the audiovisual industry that we could find this week, and do we have a couple of doozies. With me to talk about the news and information we have gathered, first and foremost, Kelly Teal. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Thank you so much. Also with us is our buddy, Mr. Brock McGinnis from Nationwide and the great country of Canada. Welcome, sir.
Good to be invited back, Tim. Should be an interesting conversation today.
It absolutely should. And last but not least, a young lady that I am very excited to have on, because it took me 15 years to get her on AV Week, Misty Chalk from Bright Sign. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm glad I could finally make it.
No kidding. We got to hang out at ISC. You can check out her interview.
He wouldn't leave my booth until I gave him the time.
100%. I would not. And it was like they were shutting off the lights at ISC. And I'm like, I'm not leaving. It was, yeah. Anyhow, first story we've got comes to us from, good Lord, anybody in the world. Just Google Walmart and VIZIO this week. That's right. U.S. retailer Walmart has announced it will fully acquire television maker VIZIO in a deal worth $2.3 billion. I am going to ask a very big favor for all of you listening and or watching. I'm going to ask you to keep some numbers in your brain. It's not easy for me, which is why I have a piece of paper in front of me, but just keep these numbers in your head. Walmart's buying VIZIO for $2.3 billion, almost $2 billion UK. Walmart says it hopes buying the California-based company, known for its smart TVs, will bolster its own ad business, Walmart Connect. Last year, Walmart Connect generated $3.4 billion. They're buying VIZIO for $2.3 billion. They done made $3.4 billion in their ad revenue. VIZIO last year made $2.4 billion themselves. In a joint statement, firms said combining Walmart's retail data on shoppers with VIZIO's viewer data would create differentiated and compelling opportunities, quote unquote, for brands to advertise on its TV platform. Of course, it's subject to regulatory approvals. The transaction is expected to complete later this year. Mr. McGinnis, we're going to start with you. How concerned should we be when a ginormous major retailer starts buying up AV manufacturers?
So I couldn't care less, and I don't.
Okay.
I don't think that VIZIO is an AV manufacturer. I think they're a consumer electronics producer. And frankly, Tim, when the announcement came out, I had to look them up because I don't stumble across VIZIO and Hisense and some of those in my day-to-day activities. It seems to be an ad play. I was reading a column by one of my favorite industry pundits, Dave Haynes at 69.
Yep.
Dave says that that all of VIZIO's profit came from advertising last year, not from televisions. I get that. They don't make their own TVs from what I read. I have no idea who buys them, and frankly, I don't even know where they're sold. But
apparently Walmart.
And now maybe just Walmart. Because if you're Costco, do you want to sell Walmart's TVs and have Walmart advertising to your customers? So it's I'm sure it's big in kind of that high volume CE business, but It certainly doesn't rock my pro commercial AV world in the least.
All right.
I have been to a Walmart though.
Do they have them in Canada?
Yeah, we do.
Because you couldn't make the super targets fly, is my understanding.
The Target boutiques.
Yes.
No, they couldn't make it fly.
Yeah,
they couldn't.
But the Walmarts could.
They couldn't price differentiate here.
You needed to put a Tim Hortons in the targets is what you should have done, and then they would have been very popular. I'm getting off on a tangent here, although Tim Hortons coffee is very good. Misty, I'll bring you in on this. You mentioned the fact that this is a huge move in the advertising space, right? In the digital out of home space. The fact that I have a lot of respect for Dave Haynes. I learn a lot from him. The gentleman that Brock mentioned there. The fact that Vizio's primary their business, their profit comes from advertising, and Walmart mentioned it in their announcement. Is this one of those things? It's not a loss leader, right? Because that's not the right word to say. But what do we make of this kind of combining of these two, and what does this do to that digital ad space when it comes to not necessarily a retailer owning this, but I guess that really the retailer is now becoming the ad seller as well.
So I actually think that I agree with Brock. It's a consumer play, right? I think that people that are more concerned about this are living in the consumer world, which is not us. I actually think for my world in digital signage, it's a good thing because what's driving digital signage at Walmart is their ad business. And this is basically Walmart doubling down on that. They're putting that much importance on their ad business. And in fact, I read an article yesterday that suggested that Walmart in 2028, that their ad business, their ad revenue will be more than their brick and mortar sales. So yes, not a loss leader. This is where it's at. And if you look at what's driving the ad business for Walmart helps our AV and digital signage, because what they're doing is it's not just about the ads, it's actually getting into the home and getting the data. They want the data, they want the consumer data, they want to be in your home, right? And then they can actually tailor that data, but where does that data go? That data goes into their signage platform. And so I feel like for us personally, it's a good thing. Where it's a bad thing is for people like Amazon and Roku, right? Because that's who they're competing with. It's the streaming, it's the ads and the streaming. And what happens and why Walmart needed to do this is because the TV platforms, when they have their own ad server, their own streaming and ad server, they get a portion of every one of those ads, right? Walmart was missing out on that. So they can't compete with the likes of Amazon and Roku unless they made a play like this. And so is it going to be more competitive for Amazon and Roku? Sure. But I think it's actually a really good thing for digital signage because it's Walmart doubling down on that.
Absolutely, and again, you're probably right. You are right when it comes. It's not really a loss leader when you start doing the math on the fact that they've already made $3 billion and they only bought them for $2 billion. Kelly, I somewhat joked, and I'm not really joking about a manufacturer or a retailer buying a manufacturer. I'm not saying that Target now is going to go out and buy, a Crestron to pick on somebody, but how concerned should we be when retailers start picking up? And I know we can pull it into the pro side. Pick on a distributor, right? So a distributor is the pro AV version of a retailer. And don't send me emails. I know it's different, but this is the equivalent I've got. Should we be concerned about what in essence is the distributor, in this case Walmart, owning the product that they are distributing?
I'm not surprised by this because Walmart has had their Walmart Connect distribution system, I guess you could call it, and I'd like to see how they're also going to use that automatic content recognition data in this solution that they've come up with, where they've expanded on their Vizio partnership. And I think as far as the acquisition of it being a software manufacturer, from our standpoint as a consultant, not a huge deal, but the implications for that, aside from the market competition and large retailers entering that software market, could potentially lead to increased competition, which could be a positive consumers, but it can also spur innovation and drive down prices. So, I think this vertical integration concept where retailers are acquiring the software manufacturers to vertically integrate their operations, I think it's good and bad. It'll enhance efficiency and control over the supply chain, potentially benefiting both retailer and software manufacturer. The thing I find a little concerning is consumer data and privacy. As I've brought up several times in the past, I have concerns about consumer data and privacy, and the large retailers often having access to significant amounts of consumer data, and that integration of that software raising questions about the data usage and the privacy policy. So that's one implication I feel is important to look into, or at least consider. And that market access for the software manufacturers, because they're being the acquisition by a large retailer, even though it may provide a broader market or access, the existing consumer base and the channels that they may offer opportunities for the software to reach a larger audience, that's all great. But then there's concerns about whether that focus on innovation is impacted, and if the priorities and strategies of a large retailer are going to have any say in how that is impacted in terms of the innovation of the product. Because the goals of retailers are outside of technology sector. I don't think they align very well with the industry's dynamics, let's say. So I do worry about it being a large retailer and them focusing on the innovation of the product. I think those are really the largest implications. Outside of that, I don't think it's something that we should be too worried about. I think this entry of these large retailers into this software market also might change the dynamics of the industry a little bit. It may impact smaller software companies and startups. So I do think there is a little bit of a downside in that aspect, making it more challenging for them to compete, because this is all based on competition, as it is with some of the biggest, like Amazon and other companies who have a similar setup currently. And I think right now, this acquisition of Walmart, acquisition of VIZIO from Walmart I think it's opening a bunch of opportunities to them. And I think that they have a Walmart Plus membership now. Business overnight sounds very Amazon-like. At what point do we start saying, okay, I'm paying for this and I'm not getting my overnight anymore, just like Amazon, So there's things that can work with this acquisition, and there's things that I personally think might be bad. But am I overly concerned? Not yet.
Yeah. The one thing I'll end with is the fact that VIZIO, as much as they were consumer electronic, or still are, they had their ad network similar to some other players in the commercial space, just like LG and Samsung. So this will be interesting to watch whether or not any other retailers do come along and say, "Hey, Walmart did it. We can do the exact same thing." So it'll be interesting. Next story, Jabra launches a new software to remotely manage their devices. Headset maker has unveiled a new cloud-based platform called Jabra Plus for admins to allow IT teams to monitor and control meeting rooms and equipment remotely. The firm said the software aims to help save time by managing and troubleshooting issues with its video conferencing gear. Also offers real-time status tracking to spot problems and customize options to configure products in mass. The firm said that an early adopter program is open now ahead of a full launch later this summer. Ms. Dean, I'm going to start with you. As a manufacturer, or the manufacturer on the panel here, BrightSign has and has had for years remote management software. Not to be silly, but half of BrightSign's IP is software and the management and the designing of it. How do IT managers juggle all of these various systems? Because as much as Jabra's got some really cool stuff, and then you've got Poly, and then you've got Crestron, and then you've got Extron, and then you got BrightSign, you've got all these disparate systems. having a system to manage all of this is a bare minimum, right, to get into the IT space. That's great. But at some point, their desktop is going to look like their iPhone with 1,000 apps. How the heck do they bring all these together?
So, I mean, to your point, we've had remote management of the hardware for quite some time now. I think just in the digital signage world, with all of our devices always being connected, we're kind of ahead of this game a little bit. And I think that what you have to look for in a manufacturer when you're purchasing hardware that you want to manage remotely is making sure that they have open or resting APIs, right? Because you may start out just by controlling your devices or managing your devices through their app. But at some point, as your organization grows, or maybe if you're an integrator or a reseller and you're managing all these different customers with all these different applications and all of these different pieces of hardware, at some point you're going to want to take the best of all of that and put it into a third-party dashboard or build your own. Okay. If you build your own and you have those APIs that are already done for you, it makes it really easy. And I've actually had some integrators tell me over the last, I would say, 2 years that they won't buy hardware that doesn't have some kind of MDM that has resting or open APIs.
Interesting. Kelly, I'll ask you a little bit coming off of that one. Do you design systems that don't have some form of API, some sort of ability to get in there and manage it, whether it's from the dealer standpoint or it's from the end user standpoint?
Not often, because that's actually a request most often when working with these IT teams and IT people who are working with us during the design process and what they're looking for in terms of how they can, have these network monitoring tools, because that's one of the largest things that or requests that we get is we want to make sure we can utilize our network monitoring tools to track performance of not just what's going on around the building or what's going on around the rooms, but we need to check the performance of the equipment, the routers, the switches, firewalls, monitor bandwidth usage, set up alerts for suspicious activities. So we typically get the request. It's very, and especially with working with an IT team specifically, they come to us and they're pretty good about telling us these are our requirements and this is what we're looking for in terms of server and security monitoring and asset management and how can we maintain an inventory of all equipment. And so we don't ever design anything that or include anything in the design that will not provide that patch management and that monitoring and that network utilization. We look at many different products, but at the end of the day, if it's not something that's already set up to be all in one place, then it's not something we even talk about.
All right. Brock, final question with you on this one. How are manufacturers responding to this desire responding to this pull from the customer that's saying, hey, I want to see everything. I want to do everything. I want to manage everything all in one dashboard.
I'm not sure manufacturers are responding that well to all-in-one dashboard. Okay. Everybody seems to want to keep you on their platform, and as an integrator or a large enterprise client, have to have 6 or 8 or 10 different pieces of software out there talking to devices. We continue to look at companies like Excite and some of the others that provide overall management. It's still very expensive relative to free, and that has been the barrier. Is that the Omni managers cost a bunch, and they get their Poly for free, and they get their Barco for free, and they get their Extron for free, and so it's challenging.
Well, that's for manufacturers too. Like, you need the interoperability between devices, right? And that includes companies like JetBuilt and Excite, to Brock's point. So it's like, you have to make sure that not only you're in a tough spot. We have to have MDM. We have to have that ability to manage those devices, or that's part of the sales cycle. You're not even going to be included. But at the same time, recognizing that you also have the ability to, or you need to have the ability to allow for the interoperability between other people's third-party dashboards so that you can simplify the process for the integrator that's actually going to be managing all of these devices, right? You got to do both. It's not one or the other. You got to have both.
Yes. And I'm not sure that manufacturers are preventing it. But as an argument, free is tough. Why will somebody pay, $11 per device per month or per room per month across their enterprise when they can get the same services with a few more eyeball movements across a knock screen? So I think it's great that Jabra's bringing it out. It's kind of a price of admission in the space that they work. It's good to be able to do that.
So we have a version that will that you can use for BrightSign to control your devices and manage them. And what I find interesting is when we came out with this product, we came out with it because with the open APIs, because the idea was that all of our CMS partners, which we have hundreds of them, would take that control cloud and they would take those APIs and they would integrate it into their own dashboard. And so a customer could log into the partner's CMS, the software, and they could have remote management of the hardware and they could do their content. But that didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen is because in our world, the people that are managing content are not the people managing hardware. So we thought, no one's going to want this swivel chair effect, right? But the truth is that it wasn't the swivel chair, because the people that are logging into one of our partners to push in content are not the people managing hardware. And so what we found was they were okay having these separate systems. And so I just find it interesting that we did all of this to make sure that we could have true integrations with third parties, and the consumers themselves are the ones coming back and saying, yes, I don't do anything with content. I'm just going to sit over here and manage this hardware. It's fine for me.
Yeah, and no disrespect, Misty, to your offering that is able to manage hardware, but the only hardware that your devices are connected to are a display. Something like Jabra could be sitting in a room that has 7 or 8 different vendors' products in it, and it's
right.
It's a ton
to your
more.
point, we're part of that, though. So it's still something that has to be recognized. I mean, when you do a large enterprise style rollout, it's not just signage, like it's everything, right? And so we're just one component that has to be controlled. But for us, it is a little bit more segmented because, again, the people that are managing content are typically different. But we're still part of the same solution. We're just one more box in there. We just happen to be purple.
Interesting. Final story from our friends at Sennheiser and Q-SYS and Cisco. The new microphone and processor system from Sennheiser and Q-SYS has been approved for use with Cisco's range of video conferencing equipment. The companies said that the combined solution will give improved sound quality and control features when using Cisco's collaboration bars, room kits, and meeting devices. Charlie Jones from Sennheiser said aligning with Cisco allows them to enable quote-unquote more dynamic and effective communication in meeting rooms and learning spaces worldwide. Kelly, first question for you. How do end users benefit when companies like this come together? You've got 3 global major players here, Sennheiser, Cisco, and Q-SYS coming together. How do end users benefit when these folks come together and play nice?
So I think those certified products are more likely to be compatible and they can operate with a variety of those soft codecs. And I think that it also, them coming together is going to enhance that user experience as well. So I think it offers a more friendly and experience. And I think that at the end of the day, those certified devices are also designed to offer that user-friendly experience, and a lot of the plug-and-play functionality that we hear a lot about, and how can we do automatic updates, and how can we optimize performance. And I think the quality assurance is also going to help with that aspect. And oftentimes we don't get a lot of that. The certification programs offer a lot of that, more of that QA and rigorous testing that you don't see otherwise. And I think that reliability and the communication overall and communication experiences will be improved. I think they will be also offering for virtual meetings, at least, which we have a lot of now. And my case lately, it's been only virtual meetings. So where audio and video quality as well as consistent connectivity matters, and that's essential for effective communication and collaboration, I think that reliability and that communication is going to improve. And then just, certified devices also have they support advanced features and functionalities depending on whichever soft codec you're talking about. I think the end users specifically can take advantage of that, those advanced features that are typically offered. And then you go into the, integration and security compliance and support and updates, which are kind of secondary to that, to those points. But I think overall, I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's can only be a plus. I think that if we're talking about just the software-based solution for audio and video communication and collaboration, overall, when they receive their certification for their products, especially when it's a manufacturer that's integrating with those soft codecs, those end users are only going to experience the advantages of it.
All right. Brock, this is going to come off snarky, and I don't mean it to be. There's over 200 video codecs out in the world. And I'm going to pick on Misty when it comes to partnering with other manufacturers here in a second. But how many certifications does Sennheiser and Q-SYS need? Like, do they need all 200?
I sure hope not. The certifications are based on the platforms that people want to use. Zoom was winning for a while. Now Teams is way out in front. WebEx is still used by a lot of our clients and moves a lot of Cisco product. And there's always that guy down the street that wants to call me on Google.
Don't talk to them. Don't ignore it.
So maybe there's 4.
Okay.
Maybe there's 4. But from an integrator perspective, when we're choosing equipment, one of the things we do is go to those manufacturers' websites and see what they're already proven to play nice with. Because the thing that costs us a fortune is getting out in the field and finding out that, what do you mean the mute button on the navigator panel that works with a 920 doesn't work with a TC2? Right? These are the things that drive you absolutely crazy, because nobody at Cisco ever talked to somebody at Q-SYS, and they never talked to somebody at Sennheiser. I don't think that this is brain surgery. I think this is basic product management. If you're selling microphones or nanos, you want your product to work with absolutely everybody else that's in the mainstream out there. And if you're a sniveling little aspirational upstart manufacturer, it better work with everybody, because we're not even going to give you a listen. So that's my 2 cents. It's table stakes, and I love it. I love that the walled gardens have come down. I love that Cisco, who 2 years ago played with nobody, was at ISE promoting Microsoft Teams on their devices. I think that's fantastic. I love not having to sell against Cisco, because they're tough to sell against, just because the users told me that they really wanted Teams.
If you want to watch somebody cringe, just say the word proprietary.
Well, that whole walled garden thing just doesn't cut it anymore.
All right, Misty, last word on here. How do end users benefit when companies come together?
I've been dying to answer this question for some reason, because I love partnerships, right? Like, we built our business on partnerships. And I think that the biggest benefit that the consumer, the end user, gets from it is that confidence. If you look at the number one reason a buyer is hesitant to sign a contract, it's risk of failure. And what partnerships and certification give you is mitigation of risk, even if it's perception of mitigation of risk. That's what we're solving for. And so if you could increase that confidence and make them feel that this is going to be a sustainable solution, partnerships are vital. They're critical in achieving that.
All right, that will do it. Thank you all so much. Kelly Teal, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you?
LinkedIn right now only.
All right. Mr. McGinnis, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or Nationwide?
Also on LinkedIn, I'm Brock at nationwideav.com. Every once in a while, I show up on X now, just for just to watch the bun fights, at Brock McGinnis.
He also posts some really good pictures of food. Just don't let him kid you.
Yeah, tonight should be a good. I think it's a mustard covered pork loin roast with some cloves and on fennel.
We're recording this on Friday, so by the time you listen to this, you'll have to go back in the timeline and look at.
There will be leftovers.
Okay, excellent. Misty Chalk, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, no matter how much hard a time I give you. How do people connect with you and Brightsign?
Well, I have been told I'm terrible about social media, but you can find me on LinkedIn. But it's probably better just to email me at mchalk@brightsign.biz.
For me, for Tim Albright, don't follow me anywhere at all, because at this point in the calendar, I'm just waiting for the Bears to make up a decision, as much as Justin Fields is waiting for them to make a decision. But go by the website if you would, please, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others, including brand new State of Controls, EdTechs, and Women in AV. Also a brand spanking new Architect, where Brian Heidgerken talks to architects about the intersection between AV and architecture. A couple things coming down the pipeline for us. By us, I mean me, getting on a plane, heading to Crestron Masters, and as well as Modern Work Summit happens at the same time, so I'm not going to 2 trips there. March 19th through the 21st, and then the very next week, I'm going back to Orlando because it's such a lovely city. Enterprise Connect, March 25th through the 27th. If you're going, hit me up and let's go hang out. I know at least one of those trips I get to hang out with my buddy Chris Netto. And some other folks. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.